We've united. That's right. We're back. We're back, and we're ready for any. No, we're not ready for anything. Not anything. So today we are going to look at blonde ales. We're going to look at Belgian ales. We're going to look at farmhouse ales. We're going to look at fruit beers, and we're going to look at gluten-free beers. Oh, and ciders. I didn't add ciders to the list there. And then, like usual, we will talk about anything you guys want to talk about when we're done. So, welcome to anyone that's watching. And Harry, we're still going down your stream of stuff here. Got some beers that I have opened up beside me. I have my beers for the night. I did do some reviews, so I have those beers. I have one more just drinking beer, and then I am down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13 review. I had 13 review beers yesterday, and then I came back with some review beers today. But we're back to 13 review beers. Yeah. So yeah. Say hi, talk to me. Every time we go between styles, we will stop and we will read what's going on. We're going to start with Belgian beers. And I even have a beer here that I did not. I have four screenshots of Belgian beers that I have as my top Belgian beers, because there's been a lot of Belgian beers I've had, and I even have a bunch that I've never given rankings to on Untapped. So I have a screenshot of one I've had that we'll have to talk about because people are going to ask me about it, I'm sure. And I didn't give it a mark on Untapped because I didn't want to fight with people on Untapped about it. And when we get to it, you'll know what's going on with that. So let's start off, shall we? And remember, these aren't necessarily in order. These are just how my screenshots went when I did them. Oh, my wife is sending me. Okay. Thanks for messing up what I was doing, honey. Love you. First and foremost, from Duvel Mourgot is Duvel, which is a Belgian strong beer at 8.5% alcohol by volume. I love Duvel. I would buy Duvel every year. I would buy Duvel anytime I saw Duvel, but I would buy the Duvel Christmas packs every year just to get the Duvel glass, the nice, beautiful tulip glass. And for those of you that have never had a Duvel, when you pour Duvel, its head is like this big, and it slowly fades away, and it's the most amazing thing to watch. Excuse me, because it makes nice divots and hills and everything inside of it. And it takes forever to fade away, but my God, is it a beautiful beer to behold, and it's a beautiful beer to taste, and I wish it was always available again. Next is a brewery that is now a brick and mortar brewery in Ontario. At the time of this beer, it was a contract. Stop messaging me. The next, during the time of this beer, it was a contract brewer, the Wayward Sun, and that was from Radical Road Brewing Company. It was a Belgian blonde ale at 7.5% alcohol by volume, and the Wayward Sun was a beautiful beer, just beautiful. Like I can't stress enough how beautiful it was. And I see there's one comment, and like I said, when we get through the Belgians, we will get to that comment. So good day to whoever that is. I can't see that far, and she's still fucking going. Stop fucking commenting to me. Okay, that's great. You know I'm going live. So stop messaging me. This is a problem, right? Because I don't run a computer, I'm running my cell phone, so anytime I get messaged, it pops up. I love that woman. I'm going to kill her. Strike 4 from Refined Fool in Sarnia, Ontario. Their Belgian Quadruple at 10% alcohol, and it was a great Belgian quad. You know what? I do find North American Belgian beers, I like regular Belgian better. I like regular Belgian beers from Belgium better. But I do find that the North American Belgian beers do come out with flavors that you're not necessarily going to find normally in Belgium, because Belgium, like a lot of the other European nations for beer, does a lot of things very, very historically and to tradition. And because of that, you don't always get something that is new or in any way surprising in comparison to a bunch of other beers in the same region. Next we have from Black Oak Brewing Company, and I talked about these guys and this. It's their Belgian Quadruple Epiphany #1, and that was a perfect beer. Epiphany #1 was perfect, and what it did to me was it gave me the idea that Ken and the guys at Black Oak were something special, because up until then, they had their odd seasonal that would come out here and there, and they had their 10 bitter years, but really the only thing they were known for was their black nut, the black oak nut brown and the pale ale, and that was what they rested their laurels on those two beers and those two beers only, and it seemed like there was no real love or skill behind a lot of the brewing. And then Epiphany #1 came out, and I was like, oh my god, your brewer is a genius. You need to give this man full reign of everything. You need to let him do whatever the fuck he wants, because this is going to put you on the map. And then Epiphany #2 came out, and it was an Imperial Pilsner, and I cried. Next, from Brouwer St. Bernardis App 12, which was also a Belgian quad. Do you see a thing here? When it comes to Belgians, I like quads. I do. A quad is a great beer. Probably one of, if not, it was supposed to. App 12 was supposed to be a pretty good clone of the beer that I did not check in, and we will talk about that beer when we get to it. But it's I would not say it's really a clone of it, but it's supposed to be. Next is from Abbey Notre Dame de Saint Remy, Trappist Roche 10, an 11.3% alcohol Belgian quad. My fucking god, was that beer good. And that beer was what, $3.75 a bottle at the LCBO, where the beer that we will talk about was what, $15 a bottle at the LCBO. That one was, if you ask me, more of a clone of the other one, where the only real difference seemed to be the yeast strain used. And in all honesty, because of the ease of acquiring it, the price of acquiring it, and just how close the tastes were together, I would pick up a Trappist Roche 10 over and over and over again before I ever even looked at that other beer again, which is supposed to be the best beer in the world. That was its claim to fame, best beer in the world. Next, from Unibrew here in Quebec, Trois Pistoles, and that was a Belgian strong dark ale at 9% alcohol, and it was a beautiful beer as well. It really and truly was. Oh, I still only have that one comment. Wow. Again, from Abbey Notre Dame de Saint Remy, we have Trappist Roche 8, which was a Belgian strong dark ale at 9.2% alcohol. And again, just like the 10, it was a great price point. It was a high alcohol beer, and it was easily accessible, and it was a great beer to buy and drink. As you're noticing here, those are basically all Belgian Trappist breweries. And when it comes to a Belgian beer, I do like the Trappist beers more than anything else. I also like the Flemish beers. I like the sours, the cuvées, the lambics, all that stuff. It really is what I go after. Just you're not seeing that really on here because most of the lambics and stuff are under a different category for some reason. I don't know why. But next, and this was another Trappist brewery. This was a newer Trappist brewery. I believe this one was from Austria, and I have both of their beers on here, and that is Stift Engelskiet. Their Gregarious, which was a Belgian quad at 10.5, and their Benro, which was a Belgian double at 6.9, and they were both amazing beers as well. There's also there was a Trappist monastery in the U.S. that started selling beer too, and I believe they were Spencer, and they did some good stuff as well. It wasn't as good as the stuff that was coming from overseas. And there's not a lot of Trappist monasteries in the world, and the Trappist monasteries that do Belgian style beers do them very well, and you can't you can't take away what they do. And then the one we were going to talk about, the best beer in the world, which I didn't rate. I actually like it less than I like the Rochefort 10, and like I said, that's partially because of the price. Is from Brewery de Saint whatever. It's West Volaterran 12. So again, Trappist West Volaterran 12, considered the best beer in the world. I think the big thing with that is that beer has been brewed the exact same way for hundreds of years. So it has a history behind it, it has a hype behind it, and for a long time, you could only buy it directly at the monastery. You still can technically only buy it directly from the monastery, but they'll sell it in larger numbers to distributors, and the distributors will sell it around the world. You can get it at some bars in Ontario. You can order it yourself from the LCBO. It did end up in the LCBO at one point, and if you ordered it, it was something like $16.70 or something like that per bottle, and that's when I got to try it. I believe it was Nick. Nick brought a bottle with him when he came to the house one day, and it was a good beer. It really was. It is very akin to Rochefort 10. They are very, very similar. Even in ABV, they're pretty similar. But in all honesty, the biggest thing with it was the price point. There's no reason for me to chase the hype and chase the price point of a Westie 12 when I could get almost 5 bottles of Rochefort 10 for the same price, and I enjoy it just as much. It just doesn't have the hype on it. So it is what it is, right? Everybody is different. Some people will say it's the best beer they've ever drank. I will admit there are some beers that have hype behind them that I drink, and I'm like, oh my god, they are really good. And there are some beers I drink that have hype behind them that I drink, and I'm like, wow, this sucks. And I'm not saying that everybody just follows the hype train, but there is a lot of people that have dug into the hype train on Westie 12. But again, if you were to do, and if it was easier to get the bottles and they were cheaper, I would love to do a blind taste test, like a lineup of them all. But it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to get. But we talked about it then too, about doing it. And you just grab a bunch of quads. You get an App 12 from St. Bernardis, you get a Westie 12, you get a Rochefort 10, you get a Chimay White, you just grab all the different quads. There was a Westmalle quad you could get. There was so you get all the Trappist quads you can get your hands on, and maybe 1 or 2 Abbey quads, which would be quads just using an Abbey's name, but not actually brewed by monks, and maybe 1 or 2 craft quads from around your region, and do them blind. And I don't think that Westie 12 would win all the time. I don't think it would happen. I could be wrong, but hey, who am I? Oh, the Metal 40 was here. Nobody's here now. I'm just talking to myself. I'm doing this all for myself. That's fine. That's fine. Next we have blonde ales. So the first blonde ale we have on here is from Niagara College Teaching Brewery. It was done at the Niagara Project Brew, which was their graduating class thing, and it was Niagara Fog. And Niagara Fog is a London fog, but made as a Niagara Fog. So it's a beer with tea and other botanicals. And my God, was it a good blonde ale. It was probably the best blonde ale I've ever put to my lips. And I think he might have won Best in Show for that that project brew. Next, from Belhaven Brewing Company out in Scotland, I do believe, Speyside Oak Aged Blonde Ale. And again, it was just a great blonde. Torque Brewing in Winnipeg is next, and it was the Margarita Blonde. It was just a limey blonde ale, and I was quite taken aback by it. It was a good beer. From Brasseur de Montréal here in Montreal, Atwater Blonde Ale, which was a 3.2% alcohol, like session blonde. Another very good blonde beer. From Three Sheets Brewing, their Strawberry Blonde, and I believe Three Sheets Brewing is out of Nova Scotia or Newfoundland. It was one of my maritime packages that came in, so I don't remember exactly where that one is from, but it was a very, very nice beer as well. I don't think we still have nothing, so right on to the next style, which is cider. Number 1, from B Nectar Meadery, Zombie Killer at 5.5% alcohol by volume. So B Nectar Meadery is, I believe, Michigan. That was something that Ewart picked up on his travels, and he would travel through Michigan quite often. So I do believe it's in Michigan near Kunheim, but I could be wrong as to its exact location. The next two are both from Domaine Pinnacle here in Quebec, which makes an amazing maple whiskey called Quadruple. They also make an amazing gin called, it's Ungava gin for the Ungava coast. But they make some great ice ciders. They make some great products, and I wish that you could get them more readily available all around the country instead of just in Quebec. Reserve 1859, which is a traditional apple wine at 16% ABV, and it is fucking spectacular. It is something that you would take shots of. It's basically a brandy, an apple brandy, and you would take shots of it, and it comes in a bottle that is quite akin to a brandy bottle with a corked stopper, and very, very good. Very good. Then we have Signature Reserve Special Ice Cider, which is, an ice cider, and it is 11% alcohol, again by Domaine Pinnacle. Again, an extremely well-made cider. Forbidden Dry Cider from Coffin Ridge Boutique Winery in Ontario, and it is 6.5% alcohol by volume. Then you have the Triple X Cherry Ironwood Hard Ciders, which was 7.2% alcohol by volume, made by Ironwood Hard Cider, which is Sunnyside Winery, I do believe, in the Niagara region. Batch 1904 from Brickworks Cider House. I will say that since the takeover, since they were bought out by Anheuser-Busch, their product has not been the same. But at the time, it was an amazing cider that everybody should have tried. It's unfortunate what happened to their product, but it is sometimes what happens when you get a merger. And lastly on my list is from Andrew Peller Limited, which would be Peller Estates Winery in the Niagara region. No Boats on Sunday. Now, I'm very, very partial to what ciders I like because I'm very, very, very affected by sulfites and the flavor of sulfites in my ciders. I do not like the flavor of sulfites. So if there's a lot of sulfites in it, I don't like it. It's a reason why usually I would have liked more macro ciders because they hide the sulfite flavor with huge amounts of sugar and sweetness. I have found that if I can find ones without sulfites in it or very little sulfites, that I do like dry to off-dry ciders more than I like sweet. But just normally drinking a cider, I go for a sweet one because I know I'm not going to taste the sulfites. I might smell the condom smell, but I'm not going to taste it. Farmhouse Ales next. And I mean, Farmhouse Ales, for some reason they have one that has a gruit in its name, but it was advertised as a Sauté, and a Sauté and a gruit are quite similar, but they're not quite the same. And it's really hard to find a true gruit in Ontario because you're not technically allowed to make, well, you weren't. I think it might have changed now, but gruits would have been beer without hops. And beer was defined as having hops in it in Ontario. So if you brewed a beer that you were going to make a gruit, you had to have X amount of hops in it to make it a beer so that you could brew it and sell it. Beau's got around this by throwing just like a handful of hop pellets into their boil every time, and they're like, look, it's a beer. First and foremost was Anne of Gruit Gables, which was a Sauté apparently, and that was from my buddies over at Refined Fool in Sarnia. After that, we had Organized Chaos, which was a beer de garde from Niagara College Teaching Brewery at 7.1% alcohol by volume. And I won't lie, I am not a huge beer de garde fan. Usually too dry for me, too dry, too boring, too bretty. And I don't know why so many companies would make a Saison and make it 7 or 8% alcohol instead of just making a beer de garde instead. Because a Saison was originally meant to be low alcohol percentage. It was what you gave to your farm workers to satisfy them and to refresh them. So you wouldn't want to be giving them an 8% alcohol beer and then send them out with a thrasher. Bad things are going to happen. But that's what was happening according to people, because you'd read any new Saison, you would always pick up the bottle or the can, and it would be like, a Saison was meant for the farm workers after a long hard day or while working in the fields, and you're like, 10% alcohol? That makes sense, right? But because what they would do now is, it's craft beer, everything must be bigger and better. But yeah. Next, Dogfish Head's Sauté, and their Sauté was a true Sauté, and I really did enjoy it. We have from Jolly Pumpkin, the Calabaza Blanca. Ooh, I see somebody's commenting. Thank you. I will get to you in a second. And that was under the other category. Now, Jolly Pumpkin did a lot of farmhouse ales. It was pretty much what they were known for. Next, we have a Bière de Mars, Sweet and Sawyer Bière de Mars from Niagara Osthouse Brewers in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And Niagara Osthouse Brewers basically did, for the most part, probably 75% farmhouse ales. They were a farmhouse Osthouse, so an Osthouse would be like a farm brewer, and that was what their claim to fame was. They had a few normal styles to go out and show off with, but they were and still are majority farmhouse brewery, much like Bench. Bench is a big farmhouse brewery as well. Now I don't know if Osthouse has always intended to be only a farmhouse brewery, or if, like a lot of other farmhouse breweries, what happened was they used Brett so much that it took over the entire fucking brew house, and they didn't want to take like 3 weeks to try and kill it all and start fresh, so they just went, you know what, now we're a farmhouse brewery. Nothing at all is up, Jamie. Nothing at all. What's up with you, sir? Saisons are next, and like I talked about with the Saisons, the problem with Saisons to me, and it's hard to say I really like a Saison because there's not a lot of Saisons that are in the under 4% alcohol like they should be. There's not a lot that are under 5% alcohol, which is still a little high, but closer to where they should be. I remember the first time I had King Street Saison from Block 3 in St. Jacobs. I'm like, oh my god, you made a 4% alcohol Saison. You guys are gods. And it was great. So I will say it as one of them, all because of its 4% alcohol. We have Faux Elise Farmhouse Ale Saison at 6.1% alcohol. It was a mango Saison, and it was pretty good. Beau's does do their shit right when they decide to do it. The Exchange Brewery in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Niagara-on-the-Lake seemed to be a lot of farmhouse ales. I mean, even the Exchange did a lot of farmhouse ales, but the Exchange brought their brewmaster up from Jolly Pumpkin. So they went out of their way. They spent a lot of money to bring a guy up from the U.S. that worked solely on farmhouse ales to do their farmhouse ales. And when they originally opened, they were trying to be like the high-end brewery in Niagara-on-the-Lake. You know, everybody was a brewery in Niagara-on-the-Lake, but they were the high-end ones. And they put their bottles, they put their beer in champagne bottles, and then sold them for almost $12 a bottle. And they were putting just, hey, here's a Belgian pale ale. 5% alcohol Belgian pale ale, but it's in a champagne bottle, so we want $12. It took them a couple of years to realize that that wasn't something that people really wanted to do. But if you went to the brewery and you drank at the brewery, the prices were reasonable. They were basically the same as every other place in Niagara-on-the-Lake. But their session saison was at 5% alcohol. So it's funny that a session saison is still higher ABV than a saison normally would have been. Continuing on, we had the barrel-aged Earl Grey Marmalade saison from Dominion City, which was 6.4% alcohol by volume. And if we're being honest, most saisons should have been barrel-aged. They would have been probably in a wooden bucket or in a foeder or one of many other things. So having a barrel-aged saison, not really wrong, but having a 6.4% alcohol barrel-aged saison, a little bit wrong. And I do see there are comments there. Don't worry, we will be getting the Pipe Dream from Halo Brewing Company in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And Pipe Dream was a 4% alcohol saison. It was my pipe dream to find a low alcohol percentage saison, and I started finding them right around the end of my time in Ontario. Halo made one. Yes, Halo. Nickelbrook, Le Paysan saison. Nickelbrook in Burlington and in Niagara Falls. And yeah, good saison, lower ABV than most of them. Black Oak Brewing Company. Here's another one of their offshoots, almost like Epiphany #1. It was their barrel-aged saison at 8% alcohol by volume. Wow, that beer's making me burp. So 4.8% alcohol by volume. So especially as a barrel-aged variant, that actually isn't a bad ABV. And it was a very nice beer. It brought out some woody characteristics in the saison, and it was a solid beer. And then last but not least for saisons, from Barnstormer Brewing Company, at 6.9% alcohol, we had Captain Teabag, and Captain Teabag was an Earl Grey tea saison. And I mean, how can you go wrong with like a name Captain Teabag, right? Like, especially when you're, say, like a late 20s, early 30s guy that laughs about that stuff. Now, I don't think I would go, oh my god, it's Captain Teabag, ho 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 ho. But back then it was, oh my god, it's Captain Teabag, ho 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 ho. So, you know, it is what it is. I can't believe they've been around that long now that I'm thinking about it. Wow. And Barnstormer actually came into fruition as a response to Flying Monkeys. Flying Monkeys, two of the guys that started up Barnstormer worked for them for a bit and had some of their own ideas, and they were laughed at, so they opened up their own brewery, and they were just trying to make a brew pub that would you know, be good for them. And one of the Chiodos, the owners, I don't know if it was Peter or his wife, but one of them said, "You'll never be as big as us." And kind of hard to get as big as you when you've been around for almost 15 years before them and you started at the beginning of the craft beer boom, but hey, whatever. And it made one of them angry, and he decided to change their whole business plan to try and compete, and it made the other one so angry that he quit Barnstormer and went and worked at Flying Monkeys. And he is now somewhere else again. He moved on to another brewery. And Barnstormer has exploded, and they ended up getting a distilling license, and they did this, they did that. Good for all of them. Whatever you guys want, do it. Fruit beer will be next. Let's go get to the comments. Oh, it's all oh no, it's not all Jamie. Did you jump on a live last night? No, I was asked about going to a live stream last night, and nobody was around for it. Ever thought of getting a Volvo? Like a car? Why would I get a Volvo? I don't understand. Why would I get a Volvo? I'm blind. I can't drive. No, Middle, I'm not on StreamYard right now. I'm going to do StreamYard tomorrow night. So if you want a link to join tomorrow night, email me tonight, and I will respond to it. Oh no, what have I done? Oh no! Because tomorrow night, yeah, I will do a StreamYard one, because why not, right? Tomorrow night I should finish off all of these top lists as well, because I don't have many styles left to really touch base on. There's lots of styles I could touch base on, but I just, yeah. Fruit beer. Mango Magnifico from Founders Brewing Company, which was 10% alcohol. I do believe that was a mango habanero beer, if I remember correctly. Framboise by Brother Brow. That was a homebrew by Colgate and Crest. And as most people know, Colgate is now in the brewing industry. He's been in the brewing industry for a while. He's worked as a cellarman on the packaging line. He's worked as an assistant brewer. I believe he's an assistant brewer at Brimstone right now that Kyle has left. Beer that doesn't exist anymore, Melville's Raspberry Lager. And Melville's Raspberry Lager was owned by Innis & Gunn. It was a great raspberry beer to begin with, but also it was great for beer alchemy, especially if you had a bottle of the Irish whiskey cask from Innis & Gunn, and you mix that Irish whiskey cask with that raspberry lager, and it was amazing. And we actually have a video of Dougal Sharp, the owner of Innis & Gunn, in our basement with us, drinking with us, and we mixed that up, and he's like, oh, this is really good. He goes, this is so good, I think we could sell it. And then his sales team said they didn't think they could sell it, so he didn't make it. You know what, if your sales team doesn't think they can sell a beer that you think is amazing and is actually what's kind of hitting the shelves at the time, because at that time fruited stouts were all over the place, you need a new sales team. Plain and simple, like, your sales team isn't good enough then. Oh, god damn it, my nose. Framboise from the Exchange Brewing Company, because why not? They do those good too. And then there was a raspberry pale ale from Flying Monkeys, 12 Minutes to Destiny. Another amazing fruit beer. That was at 4.1% alcohol by volume. I could drink an entire 6-pack of that in like 5 minutes and be like, hey, where's some more? Where's some more? I loved that beer. Gluten-free is next, and that would be the last one. And then maybe I could start a StreamYard. Maybe. I don't know. I have to find my headphones. From Quebec, Glutenberg's Stout, and Glutenberg is an entirely gluten-free brewery. Their stout is a very good beer. Omission, the Omission Pale Ale, and Omission would be, well, partly owned by Anheuser-Busch, and what they're doing is they're using they use an enzyme that's supposed to eat all the gluten, and from what I understand, that's great for people that want to have no gluten in their diet, but if you're celiac, you can still have reactions to that, because the enzyme does not completely kill everything, is what I've been told by people with celiac. What the brewers tell you is that that's not true, but the brewers aren't the people with the celiac, so I don't know. And then lastly, from Green's Beers at 7% alcohol by volume, the gluten-free double dark ale. So a Belgian double gluten-free. oh my God, was that good? That was, and I don't even know if it was meant to be good because it was sour, and doubles aren't supposed to be sour. So I don't know if something went wrong and that's what made it good, or if it was good because it was good. But I had it, I loved it, I would have it again, and if the next one I had wasn't as good, I would be very sad. Because, yeah, I expect greatness from that beer now. Nothing but greatness. So, no comments, no concerns, nothing. No concerns, no feelings. If any of you guys have anything you want to talk about or say or do, ooh, there's another one right there. Back. Middle Pro again. I'm asking because I think Sparky and I will try to chime in or set up a link from our end if it's easier. Yeah, if you guys want to set something up, I can join you when I get off of here. I'll have until my wife's movie's over, and then I gotta go talk to my wife because she falls asleep talking to me. Since I'm here and she's there. And yeah, like I said, tomorrow I'll try and do an actual hangout and have other people involved. I think I left my headphones over there. I just gotta find them. I think they're in a pile of clothes over there. I cleaned up the room, right? I cleaned up the room. I went out. I got out. I blew the stank off of me. I went for a walk to visit Luke's Brewing Company. Luke's Brewing Company. And it's about a 7 to 10 minute walk from here. I went there. I bought some beers. I tried 3 beers. What the fuck was that? Fuck was that? That was my ass. I bought 3 beers. I tried 3 beers. I bought a bunch of beers. I talked to the guy for a while. In the end, I was gone for about 2.5 to 3 hours. I got back in my room, still hadn't been cleaned. The guy was on the floor cleaning rooms like 2 hours before I left. And then I left, and I was gone for almost 3 hours. And I got back, and he was still like 6 rooms away from mine. I'm like, I don't have another 3 hours worth of stuff to do. I'm blind, and I'm walking around the industrial area of the city in Montreal. Like, Dorval is not the best place to be walking around to begin with, and to be doing it in this area of Dorval when you're blind and don't know where you are, again, not great. And you can't even look up a map to find out how to get home because your phone is in Ontario, an Ontario carrier, and it does not really work in the away network. So it was one of those, I guess I'm just not getting my room cleaned again. I'm gonna have to go down to the front and get like some more rolls of toilet paper and stuff because I have like 3 sheets left. That's not going to do me very much. Not very much at all. That is such a nice little beer. That's their Japanese lager. And reviewed this right before I came online. I gotta go tap it after I get off. But I'm actually surprised how much I enjoy that beer, to be honest with you, because I'm not a big rice lager fan. But I like that one. I do. And I have 5 beers from Looks left, and I have a bunch of beers on this side from other breweries. But I have, we have an Imperial Coffee Stout. We have a Honey Brown. We have an Earl Grey Amber. We have a pecan and maple, and we have a blonde still left. So I mean, they had quite the group of beers to choose from. I'm actually quite impressed with the lineup they had and how much I've enjoyed them all. And yeah, it's the only brewery that's really within walking distance of the hotel, so it's the only one I'll probably end up visiting. There's a Tim Hortons really close, and I think that's really all that's left that's close. I don't think there's even a store for me to go to because, like I said, we're surrounded by like a Canada Post warehouse, a Canpar warehouse, a UPS warehouse. Um, a lot of these streets are only one way. The big street is like 4 lanes, but it's divided by a median, and you know you can't cross it or anything. So it's one way until you can do a turnaround. Excuse me. And off to those side roads, it's trucks coming everywhere. Like it took me like 10 minutes to cross right outside the hotel because it was just an endless line of trucks when I went to go for my walk. I have to try St. Hubert still though. I haven't had a St. Hubert meal in about 20 years. No, probably 20, 25 or 30 years almost. I was still a kid when I had St. Hubert last in Ontario. Apparently St. Hubert is still off and running hard in Quebec, and I'm going to try some. We actually sell some St. Hubert products, but I haven't had St. Hubert in so long that I don't remember anything about it. So I gotta try it. Now we're drinking their porter. Anyone have comments, concerns, questions, anything? Is there anyone even watching? Should I just go offline? Is that what's going on right now? No, there's one of you. Who's here? Who's here? Say hello. Talk. Let's interact. That's the thing about live streams, it's interactive. So let's interact. And like I said, tomorrow we will charge up the good phone, and we'll go StreamYard. So anyone that wants to join can just send me an email tonight, and we will get you in line to get on with me. See, I'm going quiet now. There's nothing else to talk about. See, this is the problem, right? You've seen me too many times now in a row. It's been like 3 or 4 days in a row, and nobody has anything they want to ask. Nobody watches me anyway, so it doesn't actually matter. Okay, well, I will go offline and find my headphones and all that, and if you set something up, I'll join, and if not, we can get this going tomorrow. Just email me. Bye-bye, sir. I didn't know if you wanted it set or not. That's all.